then you understand the power of the eternal life energy that they don't want to meet in your crown. So that's why in there it says, for he who endures to the end shall be given the crown of life. Opening the crown chakra ties you in directly to God without an intercessor. The crown is the crown of life. It's your direct link to God. So when they tell us that jealousy, all of those traits that are negative in the Old Testament, yeah, that's not the one that you really want to be praying to and giving power.
Okay.
Then the one in the New Testament that tell you that whichever one of y'all love one of these babies is the greatest to me. Whichever one of y'all feed the poor is the greatest to me. That's the right one. But the one that want to do destruction, divide the languages. Okay, now you got to understand how the devil rule earth. He rules simply with divide and conquer. If he ruled with divide and conquer, go back to the Tower of Babel. What did they say? The men are building a tower to heaven.
Right.
Lest they reach the heavens, let us smite them and divide the language. Divide and conquer is now fully in play. It is in full throttle. The first mention of divide and conquer was the enmity placed between what they call in the serpent and Eve's seed. What are we talking about? They didn't say I'm going to put the enmity between the serpent and Eve. It's going to put the enmity or the animosity between the seed of her and him.
Right.
What just happened? Do we know what just took place? This is what they call undermining the matriarch in order to place a patriarch in her position. So you see it come out as in the mother helping the son steal the other son's birthright. In the case of Esau, Jacob was given a coat so that he could deceive his blind father. Now remember, the father blind, but the mother not. Because the mother can see, she can deceive the father because the father can't see. Now, let's go to the next time it happened. The next time it happened was
so this the 930, which flips out to the triple nines, and that's all things go. So I'm not really sure what I'm going to be doing here. But I was going through the signs today, and they told me that the testing phase of my development was over. I passed all my tests. I didn't really understand the pace that it was all going. So we probably gonna get into a little bit of the process in the development of the self in the process, because a lot of things are before us. A lot of good things are before us. A lot of dark and evil days are gonna now be behind us. This is a call of unity that had been launched many, many, many moons ago. The balance of nature was off. It was upset. The only people that can understand the nature of Earth well enough to balance out nature with what man has done to it in order for the Earth to recover are those people who are of the Earth spirit. because we naturally have understanding of the planet's ecosystem within us that allows us to derive a harmony within the working of the natural environment. So the goal was to find one of us that would take the hardest route to self-discipline and to learn how to go within in order to tune back in to the essence of nature. And then when we come back out, we had to have the scientific awareness, the knowledge of science sufficient enough to understand how to reconstruct what has been torn down, rebuild our planet, our families, our homes, and to restore order where chaos ruled. The auto industry is a thermometer for the workers' temperature as a whole. And you watch the when you watch the auto industry, you see where the corruption had been so deep that there was only corruption could rise to the top. So you had people that would have to sell out in order to get the positions, in order to make the living that started out as a noble pursuit to get a family the best, but through ways of keeping other people out, other hardworking people that's just as deserving out, the corruption found a way to make it in all aspects of our society. So what we see now is the federal government is talking about taking over the UAW. Notice they're not taking over the corporations. This is the representation aspect of the unionized workforce. I'm no longer part of that workforce, but I miss my work family. We got a lot of good people that I work with, and they deserve better and they deserve more respect. But I can't get you respect that you won't fight for yourself. I can't ask you to stand up for your things and you won't do it. It don't work like that. I ain't gonna fight for nobody who ain't gonna fight for themselves. So I can't be part of an oppressive system, which I'm under right now. We regained our indigenous rights back. We regained the right to rule our land the way we did before the invaders came. So in order to minimize the destruction of human life, the Galactic Council came to a treaty arrangement with the satanic forces that had invaded Earth, that we was in the process of fighting all forces that came with that war. All forces were not negative forces, but when they came in war, we fought them all. No preference, no preferential treatment. Everything that was fighting when they came here, we fought back, and it got bad because the way that the grid system of the earth is set up, everything that attacks earth becomes a knowledge compound that gives earth a stronger defense against the invading force. So it's like the earth absorbs the punishment until it get to a point where it can respond appropriately to the threat, to the balance of nature. Then, when all that is done, she starts working through the organism we call human. And when I say human, I mean those who are indigenous of the earth as the defense of the earth. We were restricted in our combat methods, but they were not. We had to only use the ways of righteousness. They did not. And they did not use that. They used everything at their disposal because they felt that they could come and conquer and rule us as their permanent servants and slaves. So I'm going to do a couple more invites here. All right, I'm done with that. Peace, peace, peace. All who came. So when these forces came, they infiltrated every part of our network over through they killed the women that we call priestesses. They killed them, and they killed off all of the leadership, the masters who had the knowledge that came with building the pyramids. But we always have a contingency plan. So through the natural system of the earth, the natural growth of the portion of the natural energy of the earth and the natural growth of the people of the earth, the natural rate of DNA, RNA replication is predictable pattern. And the pattern is clocked through astrology, astronomy, through intuition. There's a whole series of things that you have to go through to connect all of the dots to break the deception, right? So when you go through all of those things trying to break the deception, that's when you encounter the greatest opposition. So I had to go into the underbellies of society in order to see what the problem is at what they call the grassroots. Well, I call this level the fertilizer level because this is below the grassroots. Because I ain't never seen nobody grassroots this doggone bare. So this got to be like the fertilizer level. This is where the greatest soul essence permeate from the planet. And when you are in those areas and you follow certain codes that's already written in the heart and in the DNA, by following them in a succinct pattern, it has a internal response. They call it a alchemical response. Now, what prompted me to get into this video, I'm finna get off of that for a minute. Let's go back into what I originally started on. The signs tell me that somebody's supposed to be en route. After all of the signs I read, to a point, I never questioned my accuracy level. And this time I do. Because the signs is telling me that it's supposed to be somebody en route to come see me right now. And I guess they would call this my broker. So when my broker get here, this is supposed to give me access to all of my shit. Unrestricted access. From there, I get a rest period, and then we go to work. Restoring our shit. Rebuilding our shit. Now, this year is very, very intensive, difficult, and hard because the gamut of extremes of emotion and psychology that you have to travel through in order to meet all of the requirements to show that no matter how difficult the task is, you won't abandon the mission. Because we have to clean up an entire planet. And you can't enter into a project of that magnitude with a soft and weak heart. You got to be willing to kick some ass and take some names where you need to. And you got to be willing to kiss some wounds and put some band-aids on where you need to. You can't take none of that shit personal. It's part of the cleanup. So some people has been exposed to be imposters. I got to tell you, my baby black girl Magic is a bad mamma jamma. That girl out cold. I can't wait to get to see her face to face. But first I got to see my broker, whoever the fuck that is. So the broker need to get the fuck on over here, whoever the fuck he is. Supposed to be a chief. I believe I know who he is, because he been putting me through the ringer for the last 4-5 years, pulling strings. Good job. But I already knew what I was doing. I'm going to do exactly what I'm supposed to do. And I'm going to translate these signs exactly how I see these motherfuckers. I never question anything till the payout come. Because there's principalities and high places seeking to block every fucking thing we doing. There's no more obstacle between me being home where I'm supposed to be versus being out in the field. But I can't get up and go like the signs told me. They got to come get me. So they got to send a broker to facilitate the transition from development into the position of authority in a tribal structure. So that's supposed to have been the start of this video, and all systems is go, with the 930 being the 3 9s flipped out. Then it's reflected high and low. So then you break it down to the 6 9 and balance it all out. I don't know where we're going to go from here as a collective, because people are so conditioned with the misery of the way things is that the prospect of something better is a magnitude so great to encompass that they don't think that it's possible. The utopia aspect of reality. You're going to have what you call collision incidents in creation. This is where two things collide at a point where they cross paths. Sometimes you have a car accident. Sometimes you have a plane crash. But to develop to a higher standard in the context of the spiritual sense, you would then get to experience a better reality. The whole wickedness concept is put in your mind by outside force. When you raise children the way they should be raised, and this shit magical, it's mystical, the evil fades when you balance with nature. Nature has a way of keeping a perfectly orderly ecosystem. So Mother Nature develops defense mechanisms for anything that attacks it. It's just one of the rules of self-defense. And that's why you have a right to defend yourself, whether it's the police, the nigga up the street, or anybody else. But at the same time, you got to know with discretion. With discretion of a true heart. Some people need their whole head severed. But some people just need to get punched in the mouth. You have to know how to distinguish between who need what. Then some people need a kiss on the cheek. And some people need a full sexual episode. And you got to know how to distinguish who need what without crossing boundaries that's not meant for you. That shit ain't easy, the way things are set up. You would automatically know where your boundaries was if we was living by the laws of Mott, the laws of nature. The way that we already are on the inside is enough, but we have to know that we enough. And people get caught up in the system. And in the system, put a carrot on the stick called $1. That ain't worth 2 fucking flies. They told you it was worth something, and that's the totality of its value is their word. And every time they turn around, they lying to you, so how valuable is their word? I once heard somebody say a man that live in truth will die in truth. And a man that'll die for truth will live in truth. But to live in truth, you must be willing to confront the lie. The obvious bullshit in front of you.